Hi, we're here today trying to change the idler pulley on a 2008 Acura TSX. And if you take a look here, the idler pulley on this car is right here where my finger is pointed at, right here. Do you see, can you see this bolt right here? That is a 14 millimeter bolt, and I will use a long breaker bar in order to pull it towards me so that I can loosen the serpentine belt. This is the serpentine belt. I will loosen it so that I'll be able to pull the serpentine belt off. Now, I want you to know though that right here, this is the power steering pump. And in order to be able to remove or replace the idler pulley, which we just spoke about right here, okay, what I would need to do is remove this because this is attached onto the car, but it is blocking the way of the idler pulley. So this has to be removed. So first things first, as I mentioned, we'll have to do that. Now, before we do that, I also want you to know that the serpentine belt has to be put on multiple pulleys all the way from this top pulley all the way to the bottom. And it's hard, as you can see here, it's hard to get through with your hand. So some people, what they do is jack up the car and remove the front passenger tire so that they can have access to the pulleys from the bottom. But what I'm going to try to do is get access to the pulleys from the top, and I will just remove this. I won't remove, this is the reservoir for the power steering pump, which is right here. And it's connected to two hoses, as you can see here. I'm not going to remove these hoses. I'm just going to remove this reservoir to a different location, move it to the side, so hopefully I'll be able to get some more room to put my hand down there when I need to. So in the meantime, the way I do that is, if you take a look over here on this side, there's a clip holding this reservoir, and if you can see here, let's see that clip right there, and you see a plastic piece and you see the metal piece. So the metal piece is what I'm going to pull back because it's holding this reservoir in place. I'm going to pull the metal piece back with my finger. I'm pulling it this way like that, and then I'm lifting with my left hand at the same time. And you see it's coming out of its place, and now I'm going to move it to the side somewhere without loosening these two hoses. Keep that in place and see if I'll have room to put my hand down here in order to move in order to put back the new serpentine belt. I'm going to replace this as well, the serpentine belt. Anyway, so the first thing, as I mentioned, is going ahead and loosening the serpentine belt. And right here I have this breaker bar. This is a 14 millimeter. I'm going to put that onto here, the idler pulley, the nut right there. I'm going to pull back. As you can see, I'm attaching that. Excuse me. I'm going to pull back, and as you can see, this serpentine belt is loosening. Pull that off a little bit and then let go. So now I'm ready to remove the power steering pump. I'm still going to keep the hoses intact. I'm not going to take those off. I'm just going to move this, shift it to the side so I can have room, access to the idler pulley, which I need to replace. So we'll get back to you with the right bolts. Okay, so one thing that I want to tell you viewers about, that before you remove this serpentine belt, you guys should have a diagram of how this serpentine belt runs through all the different pulleys. You don't want to just take it off and not know how to put it back on, especially if you're going to replace it. So there is a format as to how this serpentine belt runs through all these pulleys over and under, and like I said, you should have a diagram of that. Look that up, or put it down, look at it beforehand and just draw it out. Anyway, I already have a diagram, so I'm not worried about that. Now, getting back to this, I'm going to be removing this power steering pump, and so I am using this is a 12 millimeter. You got 2 bolts. First bolt, if you can take a look for this power steering pump, is right there. And then the second bolt is right here underneath the pulley. It's a little bit more difficult to get to, but we're gonna do it, especially since I already changed this this power steering pump before. That's why it looks new. So here we go. You see, we removed the 2 bolts for the power steering pump, and I tied this up with this bungee little cord over here so it can stay out of the way. And we also have this pump power steering reservoir a little bit out of the way as well, so that I can actually get to this idler pulley. By the way, the 2 bolts that belong to the power steering pump, just make sure that they're actually threaded without any breaks, that they're okay, that you actually can reuse them, and then tie them up, put them aside, and so that you can remember that they belong to this. Now, this idler pulley assembly has 3 bolts. One here, which I removed, one behind, which is hard to see, and I removed. You're able to see it on a brand new assembly. If you bring a brand new assembly that is exactly like the OEM, the original one, you'll be able to see the 2 areas for the bolts that I'm referring to, one here and one right behind this area. And now there's a 3rd one right here. And I've been using 12 millimeters with a breaker bar to open it and then unscrew it with a wrench. And now we're gonna get to this middle one, and I'm gonna do the breaker bar as well. And so now you can see I got the 3rd bolt right. For the 3rd bolt, I put this 12 millimeter, and I'm using the breaker bar to open it. And now I can unscrew it with the wrench, and yep, 12 millimeters. So here you got the original, the one that I just removed from the car, and the one that I purchased. This is also an original part, and you can see the difference or you can hear the difference, that the bearings in this wheel is actually, seems to be giving out, making noise. Watch this, listen to this. Okay, now compare that to this one. You don't hear that, right? So that's why this needs to be replaced. So in putting back the new idler assembly, I put the screw into the last bolt, which is the hardest to, the hardest one to pull out. I started with that first, and so that made it a lot easier for me, and I screwed it in as much as I could with, my hand, and then I will put the center bolt in and also this bolt in, and that way it'll be a lot easier. I'll get back to you in a little bit. All right, so we did it. Basically, we threaded back each bolt by hand. We have 3 bolts, if you remember, one here, one center, and one on the other side, which you can't see. And so we first threaded them by hand, and then I used the torque wrench for 16 foot-pounds for here, 16 foot-pounds in the middle, and my torque wrench couldn't get in them here at the end. So I tightened these 2 bolts for the power steering pump before I actually put the belt on. So one right here at 16 foot-pounds, and then one down here on, if you can see, one down right there at 16 foot-pounds. Now I'm gonna try to put my hand right through there somewhere and to get this new belt, serpentine belt, on the bottom pulleys, and then, you know, basically maneuver them back up through the upper pulleys. See you in a bit. So I was able to get this serpentine belt on all the pulleys without having to remove the tire. And now, in order to get it on the last pulley, I have this in place, which is the breaker bar latched onto the idler pulley, and in between the breaker bar and this power steering pump pulley is the serpentine belt, and we're just gonna put it on like that. Hopefully nothing broke. Tight fit. Whew. I think we did it. Let's give it a test run, and we'll go from there. All right, one final thing before we turn the car on. We want to make sure that you give one final look at all the different pulleys to see that the serpentine belt is actually centered on all of them, because I just found that one of mine was a little off, and I had to push it in place while pulling back with the breaker bar on the idler pulley. Now I'm gonna turn on the car, and hopefully it'll run well. Keep it going. Okay, so it looks like it's working really good actually. I fixed it. Now all we have to do is just put this reservoir tank back in its place, which is right over here, and I'll do that with the car turned off, so that I don't get hit by this front stuff. Did a good job. So now we'll take this reservoir tank. See here? Do you see this? This latch, this right here, this plastic piece is gonna, you know, basically slide right onto that metal piece, and it's gonna stick in place. Perfect. So take a look at the whole car. Everything is, well, at least this right here, this is all done well. And that's about it. Thanks for watching, and good luck on your on what you got to do.